In 2020, Toyota launched their GR lineup of sports cars. They started off with the GR Supra, which was built in partnership with BMW, the second generation GR86, which has been built in partnership with Subaru, and now we get the third of the Toyota GR lineup in North America, and that is the GR Corolla. This is Out Motorsports, my name is Jake, and let's dive into what the 2023 GR Corolla is. We'll talk what the differences are, because we don't have just this one, we have two of them. This is a GR Corolla circuit trim, and this is a GR Corolla core. So let's talk about what the differences are between the two trims, talk about what the car is in general, and then of course we will get it out on some good back roads to talk about how it is to drive. All right, so what is the 2023 Toyota GR Corolla? These are not just regular Corolla hatchbacks that have been hotted up with a different engine, although the engine is different in these. These are built alongside the GR Yaris, which we don't get here in the United States, but they're built on a different assembly line because there's a lot more human involvement in getting these built. There's almost 350 additional welds on the body to add rigidity. There's some extra body bracing going on, and then there's almost 20 extra feet of structural adhesive going on around the body of the GR Corolla to give it all that extra stiffness. So that is what they're doing with the chassis in general. And then I mentioned that engine is indeed a special spicy variant of something. It's not just a 2-liter turbo 4, it's actually a turbo 3-cylinder. It's a 1.6 liter turbo 3 that is shared again with the GR Yaris, slightly smaller car. And here it makes 300 horsepower and 273 pound-feet of torque. And that power and torque is routed to the ground to all four wheels, standard full-time all-wheel drive, and only a 6-speed manual transmission. There's no automatic, there's no dual clutch, there's none of that. And like I said, standard all-wheel drive. Now the cool thing about the all-wheel drive here is that it's not a fixed ratio all-wheel drive. You've actually got a controller going on, so you can change the split of the all-wheel drive. It is normally a 60% front, 40% rear bias, but you can flip it to be 30% front, 70% rear, or you can go straight 50-50. Toyota says that's the track mode. Now the other thing that Toyota's done that's really helped with performance here is they beefed up the brakes, and these are standard across all three of the trims of GR Corolla. So you've got a 14-inch front rotor with a 4-piston brake caliper going on up here, and then moving to the back here you've got an 11-inch rotor with a 2-piston caliper in the rear. And then the final thing worth mentioning is that this gray car in particular, this is the Circuit Edition, which is kind of the mid trim of the three that are offered for 2023. This one has standard limited slip differentials on both front and rear axles. So love that. They are Torsen LSDs, and those LSDs are standard on the Circuit. They are standard on the Morizo, which is the high performance extra special model. And then on the core, which is this white car I've got here, the core comes with open diff standard, but you can upgrade to the LSDs for about $1,200. These are not just Corolla hatchbacks with a different engine thrown in. Toyota has really gone through from the ground up to make these a very special, interesting, unique performance hatch. Now, I want to talk about the differences between this Circuit model and that core, because the Circuit model is only on sale for the 2023 model year. It's kind of this one-year only special trim, and then beyond that, it seems like it's just going to be the core and the Morizo. Okay, so a few differences between the GR Corolla Circuit and this GR Corolla core. So starting at the very, very front, the grille on the Circuit is this gloss black plastic versus a more matte black finish on the core. Moving up to the hood, you get a more pronounced hood bulge here with these vents going on. These are functional vents, they're not just here for looks. And then more importantly, if we move up to the roof of the GR Corolla Circuit, this is actually a carbon fiber roof. It's an exposed carbon fiber design, and this is going to pull some weight out versus the core. And then the only other difference with the GR Corolla Circuit versus core going on is your brakes. Now they're all the same brakes as far as the size, the number of pistons on the calipers, that sort of thing, but if you look down here, the brake calipers are painted red because that means sporty. So those are your differences with the GR Corolla Circuit versus core on the exterior. Okay, so on the inside of the GR Corolla being the Circuit here, the biggest difference you'll find is with the seats. So versus the GR Corolla core being just a regular cloth black finish seat, these are going to be a micro suede insert with some red stitching and some red insets in the center of the seats. So they are the same seat. There's no extra bolstering or anything going on, but that is going to be your biggest difference. The other biggest difference here is you get a slightly upgraded sound system in these cars. It is fine. It's nothing to write home about, but it's certainly not bad. There's also supposed to be a different shift knob going on, but in this case, we don't have one from what I've heard. Those are getting mailed to owners after their purchase and they will come to their home. All right, so let's talk about driving the 2023 Toyota GR Corolla. This is a really special car to get to drive. Like I said, these are limited production, and the fact that I could even get one for a couple days is really sweet. So thanks, Toyota, first of all, for throwing me the keys. But worth mentioning, the car says it is all of 38 degrees outside. It is really cold, and these cars come on Michelin PS4 summer tires, so we're not going to be pushing too hard because you know, it's cold, the tires are cold, there's less grip, and there's like gravel and stuff on the road, so I don't want to have any problems. But in any case, I think we'll get a decent feel for the car to start. So biggest thing that I think is interesting is this adjustable all-wheel drive system. So you can click it to 60/40 front, you can click it to 30/70 rear, or if you push in, it will go to track mode, which is 50/50. So I'm gonna put it 30/70 because it seems entertaining just to start, and we'll mess with it on this little drive. First things first, the shifter in this car is excellent. It is very like notchy, but in a pleasant way, not in an annoying way. Very easy to modulate, easy to grab a gear, nice effort without being too much or too little. The clutch action similarly is a nice weight. It's not too light, not too heavy. It's easy enough to deal with in traffic. You know, no manual's fun in traffic, but it's easy enough to play with and not have a problem. Now, as far as acceleration is concerned, this little turbo 1.6 3-cylinder, I think pulls really nice all the way up toward redline. It just makes good power and torque the whole way. You know, this mountain that we're on, this is kind of a third gear for the most part, with a little bit of fourth here and there. And you know, this engine is very willing to just let you do that. Boost comes in fairly low. You can feel it build. You can hear the turbo a little bit if you're listening, which is kind of fun, very adorable. Now the car does have the intelligent manual transmission, which is basically auto rev matching. You can turn it off. It disables on every ignition cycle, so there's just a button by your left knee to turn it back on. So that is pretty easy to deal with. Now I do have to slow down for these corners. The brakes are very good. Nice initial bite and good pedal feel all the way through that pedal travel. This mountain, as you go up and down, obviously you need some pretty heavy brakes here and there, and it does feel pretty good the whole way. And then as we go into these corners, steering I think feels really good. It's nicely weighted. There's pretty good feedback here, and like I said, I've got this in the 30/70 mode right now. That feels really good. I'm gonna click it back to the front bias 60/40 and see if that feels any better. It actually does. You can feel the difference. I like the front biased mode more, given this is like a lack of traction going on with some of these roads between temps and gravel. It feels a little happier in that front biased mode. Losing traction a little bit there. It's a good sounding engine. It's nice and aggressive without being overbearing. Although I wish it was a touch louder for like the inner child in me when I go through a tunnel at the top of, you know, the rev range. It's not super loud or aggressive in that regard, but that's only, you know, some of the time, and it's a nice balance for daily driving. As far as balance for daily driving in other cases, we need to talk about the suspension. So obviously the suspension is different from a regular Corolla. They have, you know, unique dampers, unique spring rates, all that, different sway bars, all that good stuff. But the suspension here is very much tuned like an old Focus ST. If you remember those, I can't believe I said old, but they're 10 years old at this point. And the Focus ST was one of those that was absolutely tuned much more for mountain roads and, you know, fun driving versus comfortable highway cruising. It aired a little on the stiff side for the sake of performance. This is like that. So even on really, really nice highways, you just get a lot of body movement and suspension movement, and it's not terrible. It's just, this is not a relaxed car. It's always like an excited Chihuahua or something. It's just always ready to go, and that's actually really fun. But on the flip side, it does make for a little bit of a tiring highway ride, and in the city in particular, I've had a difficult time at certain points where I was trying to accelerate very smoothly, and terrible city roads, I just couldn't get smooth throttle applications. The engine was kind of surging for a second, but it's just something you get used to. And you know, I like the fact that this is a very purpose-built car. It's absolutely meant for this and track use and rallycross use and all that over like pleasant street driving. It's also kind of noisy in here at highway speed. You've got, you know, you're starting with a Corolla, so it's not meant to be a luxury car, and then you've got the exhaust, you've got the tires, you've got wind noise. It's just, again, not the most refined highway car. However, it does have the Toyota Safety Sense driver assistance stuff, so it is pretty decent on the highway as far as being cruisery in that regard. You know, it does have the adaptive cruise control and lane keep and all that sort of stuff, so that I think is fine. As far as how this feels overall, I love what Toyota has done. I think they've done a really nice job making this so purpose-built. The limited slip diffs on both front and rear axle are a huge deal. I personally would only want the car with it, but depending on, you know, what you can get a hold of, because they are hard to get, I don't think it's a total downside if you don't have them. With these seats in here, like I said, these on the Circuit Edition have that micro suede, ultra suede centers going on. They are different seats from a regular Corolla. They're not the most bolstered. I would really like a little more actually on the hips more than anything. It's enough bolstering on the sides, but I think Toyota was probably going for, you know, a wider audience, no pun intended, but they're probably trying to make sure that the most number of people and body types can fit in this car and be comfortable versus having a tighter seat. Going back again to the Focus ST comparison, my car that I owned had those Recaro seats that were optional, and they were really tight even for someone of my build. So I think this is the best way to guarantee that you have seats that fit the most body types, because everyone who buys these cars will obviously be a little different. And then finally, I've got this in the 50/50 mode, and I think we'll see if that feels any different as well. That is the mode for having the most fun. Right there, you can feel the whole car wants to pivot, wants to rotate. You will get a little more understeer if you have it set to that front bias system and you're trying to push a lot of power as you're going through a turn. And then having the 30/70 obviously makes it a little more drift prone. But right there, exiting that corner, it really wanted to pivot. It felt really nice. So I really appreciate this little dial in the middle of the center console out of this whole car. I love the fact that based on what you're doing, based on how silly or in control you want to be, you've got this variable all-wheel drive. I think that's just so fun. You know, we used to see that on the older Subarus with the old STIs, and it was really cool to have that center bias, however you wanted to send power, you know, front to rear. So I just love the fact that Toyota, of all people, you know, the people who just used to make Priuses and Camry LEs, they've done this. It's fantastic. All right, and that is it for this review of the 2023 Toyota GR Corolla. Thank you so much for coming along. As always, be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe right here on YouTube. Give us a follow on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Out Motorsports, and head over to outmotorsports.com. We've got a whole community over there of fellow LGBT car enthusiasts and motorsports competitors who would love to get to know you both online and for some events, both in person at some racetracks, on the street, and again online. Till next time, please stay safe, be well. See you again soon.